let's check out the absolute worst Pokemon. Hey all you nerds, Gabe aka Froopy Art here, and before we get started, just a reminder that my contest to get your designs into the Pokemon Amber DLC is almost over. So there's a link down in the description to the Discord where you can submit your designs. So be sure to get on that before it closes. And stick around to the end of the video as I have a little channel update to fill you in on. Anyway, with that out of the way, welcome to another episode of Let's Pokemon Together, where I take your suggestions and turn them into Pokemon. Now, the prompt that I gave you this time was the weakest and worst Pokemon. And I got a lot of really amazing suggestions. Seriously, y'all are just the best. So, all of the Pokemon are pretty darn terrible, but they're going to start off slightly less bad and eventually become just the worst of the worst. First up, we got a suggestion from First Waddle D that we make a manatee. And this is just great. Manatees are super fun and adorable. And other than being like really bulky, they really don't have any way to defend themselves. First Waddle D wanted it to have the ability Truant, because it's so like a sleepy little manatee. And that makes a ton of sense, and it could definitely be like the hidden ability, but I also came up with something that works with their like peaceful nature. You'll see that. Other than that, I brought in the fact that manatees were once mistaken for mermaids and often have algae growing on them to get this water and grass mermaid inspired design. It's pretty darn cute, if I do say so myself. Let's all meet Mantime, the round Pokemon. Overgrown with seagrass and moving very slowly, this gentle grazer is often mistaken for a clump of aquatic vegetation itself. It is incredibly sweet and playful, and has difficulty attacking other Pokemon. They aren't exactly graceful, but do manage to bob about in the water in an entertaining way. And the ability, this new ability, is called Pacifist, and that means that its attack and special attack will both be lowered if it ever deals damage to another Pokemon, because it just feels so bad, doesn't want to do it again. Now, Mantime is pretty bulky, and you could certainly find a way to use it in battle, but let's look at another Pokemon whose stats are just going to get a little bit worse, and it has an ability that just becomes, it's painful. Now, Monster Fan 2004 brought up how absolutely garbage the bug and ice type combination are, and wanted to see a little ant. Now, Monster Fan also brought up a cool ability that acts like Truant, but again, it'll have that as like a hidden ability, right? Because I have something even meaner to give it. The big thing that I wanted to do was get us another snowman Pokemon, and the 3 segments of the ant's body work pretty well for a snowman. I just took some liberties with the placement of like the coal buttons and the carrot nose and the number of stick arms, but it works. It was mainly tough to like get something that suggested a top hat, but I landed on this. It's a little abstract, but it works. All right, say hello to Snowly, the snowball Pokemon. This resourceful little insect creates a protective coat by rolling in soft snow. Their bodies are actually far smaller than they appear, and by picking one up, you will realize that they are primarily powdery snow. Though small and weak, they enjoy being thrown by their trainers as they safely bounce off of most surfaces. And we're gonna give it the ability Fluffy. Just all that snow, that fluffy snow, right? So that halves damage from contact moves. Okay, that's not too bad, yeah. But it doubles fire damage. So this ice and bug type goes from being 4 times weak to fire to now 8 times weak to fire. Yeah, so some pretty bad stats, and an ability that means it could get one-shot by even the weakest Pokemon with a fire move. That is pretty bad. You know, but let's get worse. Bao Bao Draws wanted a pocket lint dragon. And this is fantastic. As they pointed out, part of what makes dragon types so darn good is that they have pretty consistently amazing stats. Just some of them are like through the roof sometimes, just so good. So we're gonna swap that around and give it absolutely abysmal stats. Beyond that, it gets to be an adorable little goober, kind of like a dust bunny and a dragon smushed together. Getting that lint texture and look was a lot of fun, and it's just a shame this cutie would be absolutely useless in battle. Okay, let's meet the worst dragon ever, Fluzz, the lint Pokemon. This tiny little dragon struggles in the wild. It often seeks shelter in people's homes. Fluzz are excellent at squeezing into small spaces to hide, often leaving them covered in lint and dust. Luckily, this covering serves as a camouflage, but if they are ever spotted, they will flail about in a rarely effective display to scare off others. And just because I don't want to be too mean, it's getting the ability Tangling Hair, so it's not detrimental, and that slows down an attacker when they make contact. Unfortunately, it's so slow already that probably doesn't matter. Yeah, and those stats, they're just ridiculous. Just ouch. But we've got one more Pokemon to knock out, and it is a doozy. All right, Joe Gertarts, Joshua Mendoza, and Mythical Deer Fox all wanted a pet rock, with Rhyhorn adding that it could be a rock type based on talc, an incredibly easy to break mineral. If you're not familiar with a pet rock, it's a wonderfully ridiculous toy from the 70s that was just a rock that came in a little cardboard pet carrier. They are dumb as heck, and like in the best way, right? And people thought they were hilarious, so they sold really well. They were very popular. So rather than having this design be literally just like an oval rock, we're gonna let it be just a hair more complex as a stack of rocks, or like a cairn as they're called. And also get a more pet-looking silhouette. I had a good time getting the rock textures right, and I think we wound up with something that isn't too simple. It definitely could have been too simple. Here is your new best friend, Palkia, the pet rock Pokemon. Researchers have debated if this seemingly lifeless stack of stones is actually a true Pokemon. Some suggest that it is a joke or hoax that people began to share with one another. As people were having so much fun with Palkia, the joy and levity seem to have breathed life into it. Unfortunately, for a rock type, it is unbelievably weak. Yeah, I mean, just look at those stats. And I'm giving it a new ability called Brittle. So after dropping below half health, it just turns into a ground type because it's like talc getting like broken down into dust. So yeah, those stats are bad. Like, it's adorable, but it's like really, really bad. But what do you think of all these little stinkers? If you had to catch one, which one would it be? Leave a comment and let me know. Alright, now normally this is the part of the video where I would give you the prompt for the next episode of Let's Pokemon Together, but instead I have a little announcement. We're going to be pausing this series as I am feeling very burnt out. I was hoping that I would be able to maintain my weekly uploads, but I have been really struggling. And all of the prep work that I need to make for my next Fakemon region has just completely fallen to the side. So, from here on out, I will be switching to a video every other week. This is going to be a lot better for me and my mental health, along with ensuring that, I create designs that I am excited about and proud of, instead of, churning out thrown together content that's lacking any real passion just to stay on schedule. So I hope that you'll continue hanging out with me. And if you're a fan of, less content but of a higher quality, please consider subscribing to make sure you don't miss it. Okay, with that, I'll see you in the Pokemon Amber DLC videos. Later, nerds.